So, I'm going to tell you about how I came to meet Jerry Raspberry. When I first came to Louisiana, I'm in Texas now, but when I went to Louisiana, I had a place to stay and had a job, and you know how when you're young, life changes quick, quick, quick. Well, I suddenly found myself without a job and without a place to stay. So, temporarily, I had some friends that lived in this apartment complex, and years ago, I'll tell you the name of it. It's not that anymore. La Plaza. La Plaza Apartments on Old Minden Road in Bossier City, Louisiana. Well, kids young people that I hung out with, kids, 20, 21, 22. There was some people that age, my age, that lived there. Well, I had no place to live. And I had suddenly lost my job. And at the time, all I had was a bicycle. I didn't even have a motorcycle. So I had moved into the apartment complex, had this boiler room, and the boiler supplied heat to all the apartments. I mean, not heat, heated water, hot water. Basically, they were gigantic hot water heaters. And it was winter, so it was really, really warm in there. But the maintenance people, they stored some stuff in there. They had cinder blocks and a couple of doors and window panes and stuff like that for some of the apartments. Well, I moved in. I lived in that boiler room for, about 2 months. Left all my stuff there and everything. And then here's how I met Jerry. Jerry Raspberry was a long haul trucker. And he worked for, if you're from this area at all and you're old, you know Melton Truck Lines. They used to call him the Running Rabbit. Well, Jerry worked for Melton. And they were only out a week or so. They weren't like gone for weeks and weeks and weeks, like, most of my trucking life. So Jerry, I didn't know him, but I hung around with his nephew, and his name was Danny. Anyway, Jerry saw me coming in and out, and he heard that I was living in that boiler room. And one day he seen me coming out. I was looking for a job. I'm riding my bicycle trying to find a job. Boy, have I had some hard times in my life. God, when I think about them days and how I was always hungry and homelessness was around every turn, just at the lack of the next paycheck. Anyway, Jerry said, look, man, I'm a long haul trucker. I've got nothing in my apartment except a bed, a couch, and, a few dishes. You are welcome to stay in my apartment. And when I come home on the weekends, you can sleep on the couch. I never had anybody extend so much kindness to me. Never in my life had I experienced that kind of kindness. So I thanked him and I moved in. And it's a couple months later, I actually got a job at that apartment complex as a maintenance man. And what I basically did was two things. I cleaned the pools and I steam cleaned carpets. And in exchange, I got an apartment, a one-bedroom apartment. And it was a pretty good job. I loved steam cleaning carpets. I don't know why, but it was very satisfying. And so anyway, that's how I met Jerry. And over the years, Jerry and I, we used to go to a bar and just throw darts, shoot darts and stuff like that. And Jerry and I remained friends for all my life. And then, there was a few times that we worked together at different trucking outfits. And then the situation kind of turned. I became what, some might consider wealthy. My wife and I were working for a tanker outfit, and I was an owner-operator, and we were making, big bucks, a couple of $100,000 a year or more. And Jerry was sick and had a daughter living with him and a granddaughter living with him. So they would let him work when he felt like he could work. And I'll tell you why it led to this at the end of this. But he got fired because he backed into somebody and he was having people call in and complain about his driving. And he was out of work. He couldn't get a job. He was obviously sick. So I started giving him money and taking care of him and all that because he extended such a, a kindness to me when I was really at the lowest point in my life. And then he went to the VA. And that's when they found out he had a massive brain tumor. And that was causing all his other issues, not being able to judge distance and not being able to basically drive a truck very well. So, and that is when, my wife and I were working for John and John Tank Lines, and so was Jerry. And those are the people that fired him. And I can't say they were wrong. You can't have somebody, driving around bumping into people with a tanker. So anyway, that's when Jerry called me and said he wanted me to come up and visit. And I had every intention of coming up and visit him, but I was under a load. And the stuff we hauled, we loaded at 400 degrees. And the tanker had a motor on it, and it was a gigantic 440 volt generator. And these wires were wrapped around the tank, and it kept this tank at 400 to 450 degrees. And you absolutely had to go when you got loaded. You couldn't waste any time because it slowly started losing temperature, and the colder it got, the harder it was to pump it off the tank. So, and Jerry knew this. Jerry knew, when I said I'm under a load, Jerry, and he knew I had to go with it. And anyway, that was Jerry. That was how I came to know Jerry and how we became friends. And how when people help you at your lowest, you remember that. And I was really thankful that I could offer him the same hand he offered me when he needed it. So that's how I came to know Jerry. And when I couldn't go visit him, and I got back and found out he had passed away, I could not believe, the difference 3 days would make in a person's life. And I was Jerry's only friend, because Jerry was a difficult kind of person, but he wasn't difficult out of a mean way. He was difficult out of a weird sense of humor way. And people didn't bother taking the time to get to know Jerry a little better, to know he had a good heart. And he was funny if you understood his humor. Otherwise, you would just assume he was being mean. But so I was his only friend. And that was what made it even worse, that I hadn't visited him before he passed away. So there's the story. Okay. Have a good one, yo. Another cold, miserable, rainy, gray, dreary day. But I got a lap full of dogs. That's my Lucy Bell. That's my good Lucy Bell. I love my Lucy Bell. Yes, I do. She's a sweetie pie. She's my baby. She is. She got a sweet face. You got a sweet face. Yes, you do. You got a sweet face. And there's my good boy, Breezy. That's my good boy. Okay, back to work, everybody. having bouillon for lunch. And for supper, some onion soup.